Warrior. A very important congressional briefing happened today in Washington, D.C., called Hidden Harms, examining whistleblower allegations that Meta buried child safety research. What does this all mean? What it means is that four whistleblowers that worked as in past tense, ed, at Meta, M-E-T-A, you know that's Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, came forward, unleashed. This has been in the making now for a couple of months. Unleashed in front of Congress. This briefing was spearheaded by Senator Marsha Blackburn and also Senator Amy Klobuchar. In attendance, we had everybody from Adam Schiff to Richard Blumenthal and many more. The four whistleblowers, though, clearly, and they're very brave. This is the same group. They came forward. Let's just take it back first to 2021. A woman came forward who worked at Meta, Facebook at the time, called Frances Haugen. She was the first whistleblower. She unleashed all kinds of internal information, what was going on Facebook, dangerous algorithms, how these were affecting especially girls, teen girls with eating disorders, body dysmorphia, bullying, all kinds of things. That was 2021. I want to keep saying that because that was 4 long years ago already. Fast forward, now we're in 2025. What happened? These 4 brave whistleblowers came forward to continue talking about what is now Meta, because since Frances unleashed all this information, nothing's happened. According to them and their testimony, things have only gotten worse at Meta. What are we talking about? These 4 people, there were 2 today in attendance. 2 are kind of what you would call silent whistleblowers or behind the scenes. We saw 2 today, okay? And they revealed to us that since Frances Haugen gave her testimony, and there was a lot of media coverage around that, and a lot of people talking about it, Meta tightened up its reins. In other words, they would have in all their research, people doing their research, they were bound by legal monitors who would watch everything they were doing, tell them to delete certain information. Anything dangerous, they said, regarding child safety, anything sexual regarding children, these lawyer monitors, as they called them, were watching everything, and they would tell the researchers, delete the information. Or don't use those words, use these words. Now, also, you might ask, well, what's the bottom line here? Why are they doing all this? First of all, it's a company, multi-billion-dollar company. The whistleblowers claim that all of this research, right? Why are they doing all this research when their bottom line is what it appears to be profit over people, right? I think we can all agree upon that, profit over people, because they need to have that kind of chain, right? That they would just be showing they are doing things. Because if you remember, I will never get over it, and Senator Blumenthal brought it up today, when we had a group of parents who came forward, whose children have been harmed by dangerous algorithms, different things online, and they came forward. And Mark Zuckerberg, all of the big tech CEOs were in the room. And he stood up, he was asked, Senator Kennedy at the time had asked him, would you get up and turn around, face those parents that are sitting behind you? And they were all holding signs of their children or wearing their children on a shirt, or they had pins on. Stand up, turn around, and apologize to these parents. And it was the most watered down, ridiculous apology one has ever heard. But not only that, we heard at that hearing, because I specifically remember this, time and time again, Mark Zuckerberg would say, we are doing our best. We are going to improve our child safety standards. We are going to, beef everything up. Okay, that's a couple of years ago. According to the whistleblowers, things have gotten worse. So they were bound by being monitored all the time. A lot of the research one of the whistleblowers brought forth was disregarded. The thing about Meta, you might ask why all this occurs. I already said profit over people. They want user engagement. They know that most of their engagement is with the 13-year-old kind of crowd, right? That's what they're going for. And under user engagement. So their internal policies, they were going over the 2 whistleblowers today. Absolutely shocking and ridiculous. Okay, so what are we going to do about all of this? Well, we're going to keep talking about it. But the thing that concerns me is that they were talking about VR. Do you remember a few years ago there was a very big push for these big clunky glasses, virtual reality you would put on? Now, I did like that the one whistleblower she described, because this was her field. When a child puts those glasses on, it blocks out their reality around them, right? So if something vulnerable happens to them wearing these virtual reality glasses, she said it feels like that's actually them, because everybody has an avatar in virtual reality. And the avatars, they pointed out, you can't tell the ages of an avatar. We know wherever the kids are, so are the predators. So although the avatars may all look like children, we know there are adults interacting with children. What I also heard from the one whistleblower, she said every time she puts on the glasses, she is presented with images, sexual dialogue, all kinds of predation. So what we can deduce from all of this is every time a child puts on, or anybody for that fact, but we're talking about kids right now, puts on those virtual reality glasses, that they will be subject to predators. That's just the reality of what's going on. That briefing will be posted by tomorrow morning. I will be putting it on our X account, our Facebook, our Instagram for you to read. But I also want you to understand virtual reality. It seems like that was a couple of years ago. That's during that crossover time. I don't think those big glasses, those big clunky things really took off, because they sort of went away. And now we have Mark Zuckerberg partnering with Ray-Ban to make regular sunglasses. So no more clunkiness. And this will be your virtual reality, even just like my glasses, but the Ray-Bans, right? So you won't know walking down the street if somebody's recording you. They're in the virtual reality. But the thing about, and Senator Blackburn picked up the box, these virtual reality, these big ones that cover the face and the ears, and it didn't come with any child safety instructions other than, which she pointed out, a very tiny QR code on the very bottom of the box where you would, tiny, where you have to put on your glasses. Really search for it at the bottom of the box, scan it, and get parental guardrails. Here's the thing though. Most people will perhaps set up accounts for kids, or they will sign off on it. And once they pass the device, and we know this for phones and laptops and gaming, all the devices, once they set the child up, they rarely go back and look at guardrails or see what kind of safety updates there are, okay? And so therefore, we have not trained the adults enough in all of this. And that's what we have to get on board with, is really providing these tutorials, really making the public really understand what's going on. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous that we now know, according to the whistleblowers, that safety research for children in the last few years at Meta, and Mark Zuckerberg, head of Meta, that they manipulated. They manipulated the research. They monitored legally. And they also pointed out, I thought it was interesting, the whistleblowers, it was always, they were never used in meetings and things, Mark Zuckerberg's name. They were always told, they had their lawyers, they had their groups, their research, we'll pass it up the chain. His name was never used. Interesting. So we have a lot to think about, but understand the internal policies we've seen, the history of Meta. Facebook, let's bring it back. They have done nothing to really help with child safety. Why should they start now? We're right in the beginning. We're in it already. AI, artificial intelligence. My greatest fear, and I really think it's happening, is all of this we're talking about, the virtual reality glasses, everything. Focus is not on that. They'll give us perhaps some safety measures. They will perhaps allow, which the Senator Hawley right now is pushing for. He has a bill in Congress. Again, all of this is bipartisan, belongs to no political party, right? Safety of children, safety of families. Pushing that these platforms be considered product liability, and that would allow the individual, the family, the child, to sue for harms caused. So we know we have, on purpose, according to the whistleblowers, dangerous algorithms. We know we have lawyers, according to the whistleblowers, monitoring, telling the researchers to change wording, to not submit things, all this backhand kind of things, and shut down anything with child predation. So think about this. When you buy your child any of this, any of these platforms, any of these devices to do with Meta, really think about, do they, I'll say they, because it's Mark Zuckerberg, but we don't really know the they on the top, right? It's more than Mark Zuckerberg. Do they care about you or your children? Unfortunately, and it hurts me to say this, they do not. So be very careful. Talk to your kids. Here's how we fight it. Talk to your kids open and honestly. Understand what's going on online. Delay is the way. I can't tell you when to buy your child a device, but certainly no child, third, fourth, fifth grade needs any of this. And if all else fails, you can get phones and things, for instance, with the BARC program, the GAB program, that will filter out the internet. Because the bottom line, whether it's Meta or any of the other platforms, we have predators. And we're making it easy. We're handing our children over to them when there are solutions. We can plug in the holes. So join me. Make sure you always follow linswarriors.org. Make sure you're up on all these topics. And talk to your kids. They're smart. And if you tell them people are making money off of their backs behind them and all they care about is the money, your kids will wake up and they'll want to join you. So honor our hashtag at The Warriors, Community Creates Change. And each and every day when you wake up, go out and be a warrior.